concerns have been raised over how some court cases drag on because of backlogs. The backlog in psychiatric evaluations, for instance, for criminally charged individuals has been attributed to a shortage in healthcare experts, among others. For more on the situation and how it's being addressed, let's bring in the Health Department's Mental Health and Substance Abuse Director. That's Dudu Shiba, who joins us via our video link this morning. And Dudu, it's lovely to see you. Thanks for making time for us. You know, we know anecdotally of one case where a man was arrested months ago, and the case has stalled because he's yet to get a psychiatric evaluation, and that hasn't happened because of backlogs. Let's begin by just taking stock of how great an issue this is.
Thank you very much, Ayanda. It is a problem, and indeed we do have backlogs in forensic mental observations throughout the country. Some areas bigger than the other areas. It is something that is there that we cannot deny, but we have walked a long walk when comparing to a few years back, where now the numbers are getting reduced, partly because of a number of interventions that we have put in place.
That number stood at 1,400 in 2018. That's at least according to the information at our disposal. Where's it now?
Unfortunately, it keeps on fluctuating. As we stand now, it's at 1,500 for the whole country. There were times where it went down to 900 and then it shoots up. Because this is a systemic issue and not just a linear process, and it involves a number of departments and a number of processes that I'm not sure if I should allude to now.
We'll get into that in just a moment. But it was also in that year, in 2018, where the health minister mentioned that there's going to be some kind of intervention to try to clear this backlog. In fact, a contract that was going to be put in place to ensure that you use assistance from the private sector even to bring in psychiatrists in order to clear this backlog. Where are we insofar as that intervention? Because as far as I'm concerned, from when the minister spoke and where we are now, if we take a snapshot, we've actually regressed.
I wouldn't say we have regressed. I would say the problem has become bigger. Remember, we are not just dealing with a static pool of people. We are also dealing with the number of people that we are getting in. The number of people requiring these services have increased over time. And so in as much as we have increased the number of the observations that we are conducting, the number of those that are coming in has also increased. So it's something that if you look at what we are doing, it has increased. But then because there is a lot that is coming in, the number keeps on not moving up and moving back and moving up and moving back.
Which I'm sure you can also admit is not ideal, especially because in many instances, like the case I cited at the beginning of our discussion, that is actually where the bottleneck is. Cases can't move on unless we're able to get at least some kind of stability in getting these evaluations done.
Of course, because we understand these are not just issues of justice. It's also a human rights issue that you need to get this observation done in time. But I must also allude to the fact that, of course, we have injected some a number of resources of getting private psychiatrists in on board. But also recall, I would like to take you back to the process of saying the process of how and who does the evaluation is determined by the order and by the court. So it's not us as health department receiving somebody and then deciding what to do. But the court order will indicate whether this person, based on the offense or on the crime, will be a single psychiatrist observation or will require a panel. And even then, the magistrate or the court will be the one indicating that it will be how many a psychiatrist. Is it going to be a panel of 3? Is it going to be a panel of 2? With involvement, of course, of prosecution, NPA. So all those and those psychiatrists that will be appointed, they will be appointed by the court. So it's a number of issues that are at play here and a number of departments. And I must say, not one department can be able to push this thing and get the successes that we want. But I must say we have moved in terms of intersectoral collaboration around these issues, because it's a system. Somewhere when the person is declared that they need to be taken for forensic observation, then there is a process whereby a bed will have to be booked, and then there is the SAPS that will need to transport. So it's a systemic issue. And the private psychiatrist that will need to be brought in and appointed by the court, and the other one for the accused. So it's a number of issues that are at play here,
So you spent quite some time speaking about the role that the courts play, the SAPS you've just mentioned. What about the health department? I mean, where are you sort of working to ensure that you're not contributing to these delays? Because I'm sure you're not saying that the health department comes out smelling like a bed of roses here.
Of course not. Of course not. Of course not. So we're not coming up as smelling. We do have our challenges. As you indicated earlier on that the issues of psychiatrists. Remember, we are a developing country. We are not a first world country. And this service has got to be provided by the top-notch skills that we have in mental health. That is your psychiatrist and your clinical psychologist, not any other psychologist, but a clinical psychologist. And some of the cases will bring in clinical psychologists. Majority of the cases, they require psychiatrists. So that is where we have got a limited number of psychiatrists. It's a challenge. Also, the limited number of beds, as I indicated, that we are getting a number of people who require this service. And our beds are also limited. And that is why a person will require this service, but they will have to wait somewhere for a bed to be opened. So in this instance, we are doing a number of things, like in our infrastructure. I can tell you now there are a number of projects that are on whereby we are trying to increase the beds that we have that we will be able to use in terms of this. But we are mindful also that the beds should correspond also with the number of professionals that we have. And again, you need to understand that this is a security matter. Not any hospital will be able to conduct this service because there are security issues. This person will need to be guarded by SAPS. There needs to be all those kinds of securities that are in place. So in the meantime, 10 of our specialized psychiatric hospitals have got this capacity to conduct these evaluations, taking into consideration all those requirements and security issues and infrastructure and HR issues.
Well, to be fair, these are the exact issues that the minister alluded to when he spoke about this issue back in 2018. That's half a decade ago. How much time reasonably can the department be given to sort this out?
As I'm saying, you may think we have not sorted something out, but we have sorted something out, and we are continuing to sort something out. And we are not doing it alone, and I will keep on going. The Department of Health, we cannot win and get the outcomes that we desire if we are alone. This is a concerted effort, and it's not a linear effort, and a number of departments are engaged. That is why we have strengthened our intersectoral collaboration, whereby we have come up recently with a protocol as a number of stakeholders that were signed by the heads of department, trying to improve efficiencies in what we do in terms of this, to say, yes, we have got problems. Yes, the number of people that are coming in are larger than, in the few years back. And one of the things that we are looking at as a Department of Health is to say, let us go back, and we are looking back at the data so that we try and tighten up the influx upstream to look at what is it that is increasing the number of people that are requiring this service. Right. Because even if we increase the beds, if the influx is high up there, probably there's somewhere where we are not strong enough in managing the people or picking them up early. So we are also looking at early intervention, screening, primary health care and all those issues.
Apologies for interrupting you there. I'm just keeping an eye on the clock. Speaking about improving efficiencies, we've spoken about how there's a current backlog of 1,500 people. On average, what's the waiting time for someone to get an evaluation then, if they're on that list?
I must say that I didn't calculate the average when I'm coming here, but I should say because these averages, we calculate them in terms of the 10 specialized psychiatric hospitals, because that is where the bookings are done. We will find that hospitals, some hospitals will have a 8 months backlog. Some hospitals will have a 12 months backlog, but then there are those hospitals where they have 3 months or 2 months backlog. So working with our provincial counterparts and provincial colleagues, I will indicate a success story of KZN Fort Napier. They moved from a very high waiting period, and now they are sitting at 3 months. And we are moving on to other facilities where there is a long waiting period. For an example, in Vescopis Hospital, there is a long waiting period. That is where we are in with a building, adding beds. There is a project that is already in place to add beds so that we try and find. So we are zooming in each and every facility to check where are the bottlenecks and then trying to intervene there. And in improving efficiencies, we are also strengthening our intersectoral collaborations, because the efficiencies happen there. There needs to be time in terms of how long the person is dropped at our facility after the bed has been made available, so that we don't have time where there is an empty bed, how long the time of fetching those people back, and also the issue of attracting the private psychiatric hospitals to be able to come in. We are in discussion with our counterparts in justice to say, let's look also at the tariffs that we pay our psychiatrists, because somehow it looks like they may be contributing in us struggling with attracting these private psychiatrists to agree to do this work for us, because they will look at what they will make when they are at their surgery and look at what we are offering them, and then they may decline, and it has happened a number of times. So we are working on that as well, so that we look at all angles in trying and addressing this issue.
Yeah, well, if an institution with a 3-month waiting period is being cited as a success story, then perhaps this problem is way deeper than many of us are willing to accept. Dudu Shiba, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. Appreciate your time. Dudu is the Health Department's Mental Health and Substance Abuse Director.